You are responsible for what you know.
That's right.
And I would venture to assert that the closer you get to the Catholic Church, the more difficult it will be for you, sir, to deny it.
Oh no. Here's the
And so
danger.
the question I would pose,
Yeah.
the question I would pose to you is, why are you not Catholic? What are your reservations about the church? You mentioned Mary, you mentioned saints.
Right.
I can easily help you work through all that. Those are not even important issues at the end of the day.
Right. I
The
think.
catechism doesn't speak about that nearly as much as it speaks about the commonality that
Yeah.
we have in believing in the Trinity of God, the Lordship of Jesus Christ.
Right.
Protestants get stuck on these minor issues.
Right.
But, you know, one of the 10 Commandments is that we are to honor our mother and father. It doesn't make any sense to me why God would not honor Mary
Yeah.
on a very high
Yeah.
level as the mother of God.
Yeah. And I have no
Because
issue saying that she is the mother of God. Yeah. I agree.
otherwise, what you're left with is God simply saying, "Here, I'm going to choose this person right
Yeah.
here, and she's not going to be significant.
Right.
And I'm just going to treat her basically as a prostitute, and I'm going
Right.
to make this child out of her." No, 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 no. That goes entirely against everything that Jesus teaches in the New Testament,
Yeah.
and what He, as the angel of the Lord, teaches in the Old Testament.
So I'll I know we're a little over time. Are you okay to go a couple more minutes?
I don't care. Go.
All
I
right, cool.
love
You're having
talking
fun.
about
Good.
this. We'll talk. We'll talk until the kids start running up in the yard.
Yeah, I got four kids. I got two biological kids and I got two foster kids. So I got kids all over the place. Um
Hmm.
now I'll I'll be honest with you. About 2 weeks ago I was in the Vatican. I was I
Well, I'm
was
jealous.
Yeah, my wife and I we went on a European trip, found a great deal. It's neither here nor there. But for our 10-year anniversary, we went to London, Paris, and then Rome. And so we took a whole day of spent in St. Peter's Basilica. We went to the Vatican, and then just the whole time in Europe, Paris and others, many different cathedrals. And I went to Europe in 2008 with my dad, and I remember sitting. It was the first time I ever stepped foot in a Catholic church. Was I stepped foot in Notre Dame, um, and um, and so we visited back with my wife, and my wife's going on the same journey I am right now, a spiritual journey. And I'll just be transparent. The highlight of my trip, I could say this with a clean heart, wasn't the pasta in Rome or the baguettes in France. It was I felt a level of peace and presence when I would sit in Catholic cathedrals. And I would sit, I would, we would, that's all I wanted to do almost every day was eat pasta and then go to these churches. And she loves it too. I love seeing the artwork. I love seeing the stuff. And I would just sit in these little, the chapels, I guess. I'm not familiar with the language too well, but like each cathedral has all these little different, areas where you can look and check. And I would just sit and meditate and think. I was not planning on sharing all this today, but I had a moment in St. Peter's Basilica, and that is just an awe-inspiring, like it was staggering how beautiful and how shocking it was. Um, where I said to myself, and then I said to my wife Tiffany, I said, "Babe, this is pretty intense, and like this is really, I feel the Lord." And she's like, "I do too." And for us charismatics, that's a big deal, and you feel the Lord in certain spaces. And so I had an internal dialogue with myself, and just being really transparent. I was in St. Peter's Basilica, walking around just kind of by myself. It wasn't too many people. It's great when you go in February; it's not that busy there, and it was cold though. But I'm walking around, and I'm just asking myself. I said, like, self, do I believe this? Because I heard somebody say that recently. I don't know who it was, whether it was Trent Horn or somebody else, that says, like, if you come to the realization that this is the truth and you deny it, then that's like a sin. And so I'm like, I want to just be honest with myself. And my wife and I have done the craziest things for ministry. Dave Ramsey would not approve of some of the stuff we've done. We've given away our bank account multiple times, cars. We've lived in RVs, travel trailers, because the Lord called us places. So I'll do anything for the Lord. I'll do anything. I feel like my wife and I have that type of heart posture. So I don't care. I just want to follow. I want to know the truth. And so I ask myself, is this real? And you know, I came to the point where there was just me and my wife were having a dialogue as we were walking around in the side of St. Peter's, where it's like there's just still some things, if I'm being completely honest with myself, that I'm not convinced of yet. And I don't want to be disrespectful or to you or to anybody else listening who's of the Catholic faith, and just being really transparent. The papacy is one. Some of the bishops are others, and just um, and I don't know what the Lord will do. I don't know. Maybe one day I will, but this is where I'm at now, and I'm really happy where I'm at now, because I grew up thinking that Catholics weren't even real Christians. They weren't, whatever. And I'm really grateful that I can sit in St. Peter's, or in just a little tiny one that we found, wherever we were at, whatever city we were in, just a little tiny cathedral, just sitting and enjoying the presence of God, admiring and the saints that had gone before for thousands of years. People don't like the Catholic Church. Well, before there was the Protestant Church, the Catholic Church was the only one for like 1,500 years or 1,600 years. So like, you can't say that there were no Christians for 1,600 years. So that's where I'm at, if I'm being completely honest. And that, like I said, I was not planning on sharing that, but I did ask myself that question. Am I to the place where I believe this yet? And I hope I'm honest with myself. I'm just being completely transparent. So maybe to answer your question. There you go.
Well, what if you reach a point where you believe enough of what the Catholic Church
Right.
teaches, then you'll find yourself, and this goes for anybody, not
Right.
just you, it's anybody. If you
Right.
find yourself believing enough the central core doctrines of the Catholic Church, which is in fact Orthodox Christianity,
Right.
then you begin to trust the Church
Sure.
for explaining to you those things that you don't quite understand.
Sure.
You begin to trust the tradition and trust the Church's interpretation of Holy Scripture, because I grew tired and weary of trying to thinking that I need to decipher what every particular piece of Scripture means.
Yeah.
It's far too complex and deep for that.
It's a lot.
The Holy Scripture is just as deep and complex as the author is, which is God Himself.
That's right.
And so I'm so thankful that I can rely upon 2,000 years of church history. And only within the Catholic Church do you have 2,000 years.
Yeah.
One of the arguments that I made to my father, who is adamantly opposed to the Catholic Church, I said, so for the first 1,500 years after the Ascension, God just didn't know what He was doing. It took Martin Luther and John Calvin to come along and finally display what God really wanted to happen.
Right.
And it's that type of putrid arrogance is something I'm at the point in life now where I don't have to tolerate it anymore.
Yeah.
I try to show compassion to everybody to the extent that it's possible, but I'm not going to back down from what I currently believe to be absolute truth. When you've done all you can do, simply stand.
That's correct.
Be still.
That's correct.
Stand, be still, and know that He is God.
That's so good.
Wait on the Lord. That's it.